So everybody, it's King here. Welcome to another from Materialist video. It's gonna be probably one of, if not the most, shortest form Materialist, right? Not gonna be super long. You see by the title, is a random thing that kind of got inspired because of the fact of me talking about all different versions, the different varieties of looks for Hades of Greek mythology, and or in case you talk about Hades, the god of the underworld, right? But as well, inspired as well by the fact of my man Crisis. Check him out. Right, not a friend of mine that I talked about before, but just a content creator, so Power Scaler, and another fellow nerd that I really respect, as well Goji Chronic, and them doing their own, takes about who is the strongest live action Superman. In today's video, I'm going to be doing who is the definitive most strongest version of Hades. Now, granted, I don't know every single version of Hades. I'm doing the most popular and well-known accredited of Hades, right? I'm a big, I would say incredibly knowledge person, especially as y'all know me if you've been fans of this channel, or people who actually do know me watching this, right? That a man is a big avid lover of all different forms of mythology, folklore, legend, and makes different perceptions of religion, right? And in today's video, I'm going to be spiral scaling, if it's an obvious, again, by the title and a little bit what's to be shown on screen here, right? All different versions of Hades that I know. The tiers being weak ruler, demonic emperor, dreadful, D1 villain, god of the underworld. Right? Simple as that. Right? All the talks of woman Hades. Hades is a character I've always been intrigued about and always had likeness to. Right? There's all the Hades that I went on my way to research, unravel, and take in when it comes down to power scaling. So yeah, it's a unique new form of video, right? And yeah, again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. If you disagree with any form of scaling with this video, my Discord is RPKing324. You can better educate me or, debate me, where the case may be. That goes for anything, what is being said. But let's go get into it. So, starting at the bottom, we have Hades of the Wonder Woman movie. Now, it doesn't have any true gray or showings to really say that he really is something, but as being, one of the three pillars of Olympus and makes comparison to actual Greek myth and DC Comics. Also tied with the fact that in Underworld, he seems to be boundless in power. Right, he could be super high or he could be super low, but I'm not trying to have the serious of a question thing, right? Because it's so little. So I would say he's going to be a demonic emperor for now. Hades of Smite, I would say in the grand scope of different power scaling, shit like that, he is a pretty weak ruler. This is when we'll get into a little bit more discussion sense. But simply put, Smite scaling is by all different acclaim and all different shit, very kind of weak to mix different perception. Don't get it twisted, it is weak in maybe some greater form heights of scaling, but I've seen mixed different crossroads really where you could debatably constitute their scaling, as some put them in a very much planetary stance or mixed perception of like the obvious, talks of realms, universes, dimensions, a different plethora of being like in universe tier like shit, kind of the most like kind of grounded, ambiguous. But to be fair, Smite's power scans all over the place, and from what I've seen with Hades, he's said to be on the same tiers like Poseidon and Zeus, and that would give him universal level possible perception of AP. So I would say that he reasonably should be here, right? So yeah, then you have Hades of Marvel. I'm gonna put in D1 villain. He's got multiple different crossroads. The most powerful people within Marvel, from Hercules, Thor, Valkyrie, has slapped Hulk one time, right? He's a very powerful dude, so it should be self-explanatory, right? Hades of the Hades game, I feel like between weak ruler and demonic emperor. There's a lot of different questioning for being a guy that reasonably has a great plethora of talk of being just as much powerful as obviously his two other brothers. He's the oldest of, the case of the iconic three siblings, and is the second oldest of the entire, mainline 12 Olympians. But his stance of power is kind of mixed ambiguous to say, and from a little bit of research I've done, without getting spoiled, because my man Veep, who's talking to me about the best Hades design, has big suggested me playing the Hades games, and maybe one day I might do that. But yeah, like simple as to say at least that this guy Hades is not only the god of the underworld, but is a powerful, not only archaic user of magic, is very cracked, very crazy. And yeah, it's the personification of the, god of the underworld, the mighty king that raises a new level of fear and also tremendous power. Like no wonder, like the general foreshowing of power for like Hades or anything like that, but definitely isn't like too much distinctful. So in the grand scope of these Hades, he'll be weak. but it's surprising, crafty and wicked when it comes down to his shit, right? Is a powerhouse like no other, to be exact. So, yeah, suppose that. Next, you have the case for Justice League Hades, aka DC Animated, right? And I would say to the things that he scaled to in comparison, that reasonably you could put him there to the most system level, right? Reasonably be there from other in case of DC heroes they scale to. But again, this is the DC animated universe that's primarily to Justice League and etc. So yeah, then you have DC Hades. I think they explain this in comparison to DC. Granted, I haven't seen every layer of what he's been able to do, so I don't know because it matters for him being DC by default. And most of the time, DC characters are stronger than Marvel characters, but it's not that simple all the time. Reasonably, you could say DC has a stronger Hades, but he doesn't do too much that I feel like entirely dwarfs the capability of D1 villain. I would just put him in Dreadful for now. Percy Jackson books Hades, right? I will say is reasonable to be here. See, Percy Jackson, for the matter of the gods, a mixed tale of like mythos and shit, as they do have differentiations, is not weak, but definitely is in the most booming, wildly powerful, to say the least. And I would say that Hades, just by incline of him being, a god and being a ruler of a whole plane of existence and all that talk, reasonably should be there. But, depending on how you perceive the cross mix between, Greek myth Hades and here, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of mixed to say. But I say that's reasonable where he should be. Hades at Disney, I think is reasonable to say to be, from all different mixed taking talk of, Hercules from Disney, it's reasonable to be there. Right? Hercules said to have a universal amount of might, power, greatest hero in the universe, all different talk of different shit to be had in this game sense, and is one legendary ferocious foe if he wanted to be, right, in the matter for his fury. So yeah, Percy Jackson live action, all week, right? But then would say that this is where there's a greater debate where you have God of War Hades. Now God of War Hades, regardless of how much I dislike his design, right, has mixed talk for not being stronger than obviously Marvel Hades, but being a guy that if you looked at consistently might, depending on how you perceive the mix different different talk about the comics and mix running things, might have better argument for different hacks use and speed. The might you could maybe perceive be over the case of Hades for Marvel, but I believe all around because just a better run chain and all rack of all trades that Hades is able to show and this literally be a bottomless pit of the most dog horde of power. I believe strongly in every creative way that he reasonably can constitute, just like the case of Hades to the Hades game being a powerhouse and a great aid god like none other. You know what I'm saying? Then the case of the most powerful version of Hades that I know of in the Crossroads, right? Simply put, this man not only has smacked with multiple different and most iconic mix Marvel magical to mix up their powerhouses, but because of the fact that he helps from Marvel Comics, I feel like he kind of edges out with just a cosmology perspective. And even though God of War Hades is pretty powerful because he helps from God of War, I don't think I need to explain that, but I feel like that's a simple understanding of all the different gifts of magic, one better plethora, way more experience, better resume of shit. And I feel like even if you want to argue a little bit more like consistent that Hades from God of War might have like mixed better applicableness and mixed perception speed, and like his hacks could be interesting to be taken into consideration with how much it can combat his hacks, his arcanic claws of Hades when it comes down to the case of like benching the other soul and playing tug of war with their soul. He cannot do that to Marvel Hades. Not only has Marvel Hades been able to combat in strength against powerful foes, but has been able to overpower Hercules. And I don't think I need to explain why Marvel Hercules is stronger than God of War Hades. That's not even needed to be talked about. Even that goes for fucking Hercules. I'd argue Kratos too. Like, no, bro, no. Like, there's no way. There's not even an argument there. So again, but as being said, this is the tier list. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Again, if you disagree with anything, like I said, RP King 3124 is my Discord, right? Let me know who you guys think is the strongest version of Hades or what Hades I missed, you guys suggest I should look into, or the case may be. With that being said, And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please put some respect on all these different Hades and some of their own right from a power skin perspective, not entirely character or design. He's like this fat Oompa Loompa. I'm definitely intrigued about more of the shit to come from this Hades, right? As Hades, is a great, dreadful powerhouse like none other, right? But yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, man. Love y'all.